The following video footage was captured live at a rare Dr. Schulze public appearance. Dr. Schulze was told that without open heart surgery, he would be dead by age 20. Instead, he healed himself of his life-threatening heart deformity and of other incurable injuries. He then made it his life's work to help others have healing miracles too. Over 50,000 people worldwide have followed Dr. Schulze's natural healing programs. Many have healed themselves of so-called killer and incurable diseases. Because his patients dared to heal themselves of cancer, AIDS, diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and other diseases that medicine declares incurable, his clinic was forced to close, and he now lives in hiding. Dr. Schulze is a very dangerous man to doctors and drug companies, but to you, he just might save your life.
As a doctor, my patients would come to see me. And my biggest job was to keep them alive and then eventually get them healthy. So I had to look at statistically what was killing my patients, what was killing them more than anything else. And it was what was on the end of their fork. That's what was killing them more than anything else. If you add up all the people that die of cancer, all the people that die of AIDS, if you add to that all the people that crash in airplanes and car wrecks and suicides and drug overdoses, and you add to that the people that are poisoned and murdered and train crashes and liver disease and spleen disease and bone disease, and you add up all the people that die of all those diseases and fatalities and injuries, electrocution, drowning, suicide, add them all up, they do not equal the amount of people that die of heart disease in the United States. Now that's a first primary scary thought that I had to look at with my patients in the clinic. Odds are that each one of my patients was going to die of heart disease over all those other things. What number does that come up to? About 1 million people a year die from heart disease, period. The #1 cause of death in the United States. Besides, there's also another million. What was that? Doctors killing you. Okay, but if we forget the doctor killing you, the #1 cause of death, more than all the other causes added together, is heart disease. That's a figure that we have to look at very seriously here this afternoon. Of this million, how many are dying from blocked coronary arteries with cholesterol, and how many are dying from all other types of heart death? Okay, so let's look at the number. How many of this million are dying from blocked coronary arteries with cholesterol? Any guesses?
99%.
Good. A lot of guesses. It's 99%. That's 990,000 people are dying a year from blocked coronary arteries with cholesterol, and there's only one source of dietary cholesterol, and that's anything that had a face on it that you're eating. It's animal food. So the greatest risk above all others to my patients was what they were eating. I call heart disease a disease of the fork. It's what was going in their mouth. Many of my patients, you know, I read a study recently that said the odds are much more likely that you'll get injured not in an airplane crash, but from eating the food on the airplane. You know, you have to look at things statistically. They said next time you're sitting on a plane worried about are you going to have a mid-air collision or is there a bomb on board, it's what's on your tray that's going to get you. Does that make sense? So I had to look at things statistically. So while my patients were worried about this or that, they could live 50 years with their arthritis, but they were probably going to die dead of a heart attack. That was the #1 killer of my patients and everybody out there. And there's a very simple way to have yourself not be a statistic, which is over half of you in here are scheduled to die of a heart attack. And the way that you can keep yourself from becoming a statistic is just don't eat anything with a face on it. Now, at this point, I make some enemies. But the rule in my clinic was that nobody got to eat anything with a face on it. The question is do you want to be well or do you want to fool around? I have a lot of things to do, and I would rather go to the beach than fool around with one of my patients and not be serious. If there's something that's going to kill them worse than anything else, I'm going to get them to stop it. So one of the first rules in my clinic was you could eat anything to start as long as it wasn't an animal or any type of animal food. When I started changing my food program, remember I left the hospital diagnosed that I would be dead by 20 with my heart disease. And I left the hospital, and remember I said the first person I ran into said eat less red meat. And I thought, you know, I was a blood eater. I came from a long line of German blood eaters. And I thought, okay, I'll eat no red meat. And I removed the red meat, and I lived on chicken and fish and all the other types of meat. And it was hard because I loved Thuringer and knockwurst and liver sausage. Liver sausage. I mean, those were all my favorites as a kid. I was a good German. And I stopped eating them all. Went to chicken, lived on chicken, felt a bit better. But notice my cholesterol count was still way up there. Do you know that 3.5 ounces of white meat chicken baked without the skin has more cholesterol than a full fat hamburger, than 3.5 ounces of the fattiest ground beef you can find? Look it up in the cholesterol books. Someone sold you a lie. Probably the chicken farmers. It's the new white meat. But people are discovering that chicken has as much, if not more, cholesterol than red meat. It was a lie, but we believed it. So now we know that. So what's the new white, clean, healthy meat to eat? Pork, yeah. You've seen the advertisements. Let's eat more pigs. Let's eat more pigs. That's the new white meat. James Garner did ads for the American Beef Board. Real men eat beef. That was nice. Had a quadruple bypass shortly after doing those commercials. Real men eat beef. And then they die of heart disease. So I stopped eating chicken, and I went to fish. But I never liked fish because a lot of it looked like alien space movies. Especially a lobster. It looks like you look at a lobster, it looks like, well, ah! You know, jump on your face or something. Horrible looking stuff. So I never liked that. So I became what I call a lacto ovo vegetarian. And what that means is for breakfast I had cheese omelets, and for lunch toasted cheese sandwiches and a milkshake, and for dinner some type of cheese sandwich with some eggs. Because I was out of meat. I was out of fowl. I was out of fish. What the heck was I supposed to eat? Yeah, so lots of eggs and lots of cheese and lots of milk. And you know what? I felt a lot better. But I still wasn't there. And then I remember the horrifying day when someone said to me, you need to stop eating all animals and animal products. Now I thought, well, why do I have to stop eating milk? And I was told to look at a bottle of Elmer's glue. Who's that made by? Borden's. Put that between two 2x4s and they'll hold together for 100 years. And it's a byproduct of the milk industry. There it is. You see Elsie the cow right on there. Good old Elmer's glue. And I was told that eggs would congest my body. And I remembered on Halloween someone threw one on my car, and I thought I needed nuclear fusion to get it off. Who's been to Venice, Italy? Anybody? You know, yeah, a few people been there. The buildings in Venice are 900 years old and surviving on water. And you can hit them with a hammer and they don't chip. And all those buildings are made from dirt mixed with eggs. They had no concrete. It was a chicken farming area. That'll show you the hardening ability of cholesterol. Amazing, isn't it? So I stopped all my dairy and I got rid of all my eggs and all my cheese and all my milk and all my cream cheese and all my yogurt and all my kefir and all my butter. My Aunt Hattie's butter cookies. I had about 4 pounds of butter per cookie. That was the toughest. And all that was left in my refrigerator, I think, was a carrot. And I went through a full-blown panic. I'm not going to die of heart disease, I'm just going to die. And it was frightening. And the first month I lost a lot of weight and I didn't know what to eat. And the second month it was tough, but you know, after a few months, it got easy. And then I started learning about all the other foods out there, and it's a lot easier today now than it was in the 60s. But now for about 25 years I've been a vegan, which means that I don't eat any animals at all, and I eat just fruits and vegetables and grains and seeds and sprouts and legumes, all these things that don't have faces. And that made one of the biggest differences in my health. My cholesterol lowered down to about 120. My heart started pumping this thin blood very easy. These valves got a vacation. They got a rest in here to rebuild because I was pumping that cholesterol level of 300, which is like about the consistency of Elmer's glue. And now I'm pumping like thin water. Different consistency at that cholesterol level of 120. You know, the average cholesterol level in the United States is 200, and we have awarded ourselves the highest incidence of coronary artery disease. The average cholesterol level in the People's Republic of China is only 120, and they have virtually no coronary artery disease. And you know what? They eat beef and pork. And I couldn't figure that out until I went to China, and I saw when someone ordered beef or pork, they were looking like, where's the beef? Where's the pork? And you see, the Chinese eat a pound of meat a week per family of 4. That's this much. So if any of you say, in this life I cannot give up blood, well, make it a little bit. Cut it down. Now, if you're really ill, you got to get off it totally. It isn't going to help you get well. It's going to clog up everything. What did I say was the #1 cause of all disease? Blockage. And that's what this saturated fat and cholesterol does, is it makes your system sluggish and congested, and you can't get the blood and the lymph and the other fluids through that you need to. It blocks you up. You're not going to get well on a diet with animal food. So all my patients had to stop all animal food. And this is one of the ways that I got well. Now, many people call the American Botanical Pharmacy or my school, and they say, well, I followed Dr. Schulze's program and I'm still not well. And my personnel are trained to say, did you stop eating all animal food? And 98% of the callers go, well, not all. Then you're not following the program. And I want to be very clear about this. Every patient I had with a killer terminal disease that was given a death sentence by medicine had to become a complete vegan, and that's how they got well. That's one of the steps. So let's remove any doubts we have about that. I'm not saying we're doing it for moral reasons, although I do believe that if people want to eat meat, they ought to get a knife and just cut the head of the cow off themselves. I mean, take some responsibility for this, at least be able to do it. I couldn't even put a worm on a hook as a kid, so I was born to be a vegetarian. But every patient became a vegan, period. I do not believe you can be well and eat animals, not recover from a killer disease. And I will give you 100 reasons why as we go on, from prostate problems on down. Look at these animals. I was with a man from India, and I was driving through Stockyards area, and I said, can you believe that, how disgusting that is, all that piles and mounds of fecal matter, and the cows standing in it. And he goes, where? And I said, over there. And he goes, where are the cows? And I said, over there. He goes, those aren't cows. I said, no, over there on that hill, that big pile of crap, all those cows. And he goes, those aren't cows. I said, wait a minute. We pulled over and I said, those. And he goes, those aren't cows. I go, those are cows. He said, those aren't cows. I said, those are cows. And he says, those aren't cows. You know, I didn't know what he meant till I went to India. Those weren't cows. Those are some kind of genetically altered beasts that don't exist on this planet. You want to see a cow, you have to go to a third world country. These things we have in this country have been so pumped up with steroids and growth hormones and antibiotics. They are alien beasts. They can hardly even walk anymore without breaking their legs. This is frightening. This is not a cow. This is some type of altered, tortured animal. You look at the vets that go around the feedlot and they're just pumping steroids, growth hormones, antibiotics into these beasts, trying to get them to grow gigantic, to make more money, make bigger cows, make more money. It's a horror. And then we kill them and eat them. And all through that meat, don't think those hormones, those growth hormones and those steroids go away. They're right there. You can test almost any meat on the counter in any grocery store and you'll find hormones and steroids and growth hormones in it. You know, years ago, we doctors gave women a drug called diethylstilbestrol, DES, to prevent miscarriages, and we discovered that all their children ended up with cancer. So we immediately took it off. Do you know that's still used in the beef industry today? The agriculture department says not to use it, but the farmers don't comply, and you can still find residues of diethylstilbestrol in beef. So if you're eating animals, you're not only eating a cow that has the, think about this, a cow has the genetics to be 3,000 pounds. My relatives were big, but they weren't 3,000 pounds. You eat that, and your body's going, you have the hormones now to grow 3,000 pounds. But now you also have the hormones that were injected and the steroids injected, growth hormones. It's scary. Look at the types of diseases, the prostate enlargement with every man in this country. Fibroid tumors on women's uterus, on almost every woman in this country. These are growth hormones. Steroids, growth hormones, they cause growths in your body, especially on our reproductive organs. They're the same types of growth hormones that we naturally produce when we go through puberty to develop our prostate and our testes or our uterus. But when we eat massive amounts of these hormones as adults, we get growths in our prostate and on our uterus. Hey, I saw it in Time and Newsweek, red meat and prostate cancer. Every doctor today knows that the incidence of prostate cancer is directly related to the consumption of red meat, period. Period. What about dairy? People say to me, well, dairy's natural to drink. Cow's milk is natural to drink. We're the only species on this planet that consume the milk of another species. You never see a monkey sucking off a giraffe or a donkey going after another mammal. It doesn't happen in nature, right? We're the only species. Now some people say, well, it tastes good. Well, horse poop might taste good. Doesn't mean it's a good food. Cow's milk is loaded with all the RNA and the DNA, the genetic material, and the fats and the hormones to grow a 3,000-pound cow. Not you, not another human. Only milk that was ever designed for you was that from mom. From mom. And only until you were old enough to start eating food. Year and a half, whatever. But we as adults drink milk. Now personally, if I was forced to drink a glass of milk, I would like a nice glass of human milk. And people go, oh, that's weird. So it's less weird to drink cow's milk? It's scientifically, it's naturally distorted. It's deranged to drink this milk. Just because we do it doesn't mean it's right. And remember, One of the biggest problems we have today is obesity and all these hormonal problems and growth hormone problems. We've all heard about the hormones now they're putting in cows to get more milk. I met one farmer and he says, I don't know what everybody's so upset about. This is about the 900th hormone I've used to date to try to get my cows to give more milk. Think about it. What are we doing to ourselves by consuming these animals and these animal fluids? We're turning in, I met a geneticist and he said that Americans are turning into a race of half human, half cow. And I think there's truth to that. Think about it. Consuming this RNA and this DNA. What are we doing to ourselves? And I look at the children. I mean, I'm a dad, so I get to brag a little. But when I take my son to the park, it's frightening because it looks like he's playing with a dozen other mutants. I don't know what these things are people call children. Green snot running down all their noses. Almost all of them have had tubes put in their ear. They're so filled with mucus, they're sick all the time. I hold them up and talk to them, and their eyes are wandering all over the place. They look stoned, they look drugged, they are stoned, they are drugged. My son's going to be 3 in a month, and all his friends drink Coca-Cola. We'll have to edit that one out. No wonder they're crazed little beings. You know what my son has for lunch? That. What we just saw in the other room. He thinks it's great. He doesn't know any better. Although he's starting to learn. We call sugar sugar in our house, and we let him know that it makes you sick. Makes you feel real great for 10 minutes, and then you want to become the son of Sam. Okay? Sugars, but we let him know that sugar, and so sugar is raisins and things that are very sweet, but we never have the other sugar around. I finally broke down, and he got to see Santa Claus for Christmas, and Dad had the videotape and got up there, and Santa Claus says, what would you like for Christmas? And he goes, sugar, and lots of it. I can edit that out of the tapes I have for my home movies. You must have heard that somewhere. But it's frightening because these children are mutants, because they're drinking cow blood. I mean, that's really what milk is. It's the blood and pus and fluids out of a cow. They have to separate all that pus and blood out of there. And your children drink that, and they fill up with mucus, and they start mutating and get abnormal bony growths. And we have young girls going into puberty earlier and earlier now every year. We have 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds because of all these hormones and steroids going into puberty, and the same with little boys. And I get frightened when I go to the park and the stories I hear. A woman said to me at the park, she goes, so what daycare does your son go to? And I go, he doesn't go to daycare. She goes, oh, one of those. And she goes, well, what elementary school is he going to go into? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, oh, you've just about ruined his educational life. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, if you don't set up now, when he's 2, you're never going to get into a good school. And that's going to ruin his high school, and that's going to ruin his college. I've already ruined my son's life. Listen to this insanity. And you should see the food. One of these kids was crying, and the mother folded in half a piece of bologna and stuffed it in his mouth to shut him up. I mean, it's frightening out there. I'm up here too because I'm afraid of the world that my son's going to grow up in. I'm afraid of this. Yeah. I love being a parent now because all my patients said, oh, well, just wait, Dr. Schulze, till you have your own kids. I have them now. And I'm enjoying it. I'm blissed out. I love being a dad. Food. So all my patients became a vegan. But there's a lot of ideas on food. You know, recently, I've been getting a lot of calls about this one book. I won't mention the name right now. This one book. Everybody calls me, Dr. Schulze, What about this book, this new diet book? It's going to help, you know, everybody's following it. It's a great new diet plan for everybody. I don't know about it. I don't like the word diet. When I see the word diet, this is what it looks like to me. Do I look like the kind of guy that wants to go on a diet? I want to go on a food program. I don't like a lot of the words that are used. But anyway, and as for being vegetarians, in case if you wonder if you're going to get weak or pasty, I think I'm a good example of that not happening. Well, let's look at what's allowed on this food program. Well, let's look at the author first. The author, he's a pioneer in biotechnology, develops drug delivery systems for cancer patients. Well, we'll hold that against him. Obviously, not everyone is a cook, including me. In fact, most of my cooking techniques involve turning on a microwave oven. So here are some frozen convenience meals that you'll find easily in the supermarket that are part of my program. Lean cuisine, healthy choice, lean cuisine meat lasagna, lean cuisine beef Szechuan, sounds exotic, Le Menu beef sirloin tips, and how about Hormel beef stew? That's in here. Ooh, some good stuff. Okay, even if turning the microwave on and off is too tough for you, you can still be on my diet with fast food restaurant food. Fast food choices tend to be a little higher in fat, but you get convenience. So here's a list of the ones I suggest. Burger King, Yahoo! Jack in the Box, someone said I love Burger King. Jack in the Box. McDonald's, 2 small regular hamburgers, combine the patties and throw away the buns. God bless, who would want to get any fiber in them anyway? Get those buns out of here. Sounds like you grew up at my house. We don't want no buns. Wendy's, Wendy's, hot and juicy. What about some guiltless pleasures? Even the most delicious, rich desserts can be indulged on this program. Half cup of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. A Snickers bar, 1 Snickers bar, 12-ounce bottle of beer, 1 small piece of Boston cream pie. Wow, I can have my Boston cream pie, have my Wendy's, have a Jack in the Box, Snickers bar, bottle of beer, and a little Haagen-Dazs for dessert. No wonder people are following this program. This is the average American program, right here. There's the video camera. Coming back. There it is. You can all see it. I said it now. I was told I'm going to be sued by that author. Haven't got the papers yet. I can't believe that anybody even called me and asked me if it was okay. What do they think? Some miracle happened last night and all of a sudden these foods are okay to eat? Can you believe this? Can you believe that that man wrote the book? And can you believe 1 million people bought it or more? Oh, they have centers now. Oh, they're really going to sue me. They have centers now. So what did this man do? He just said, go ahead and bust some beers, have a Snickers bar, some Haagen-Dazs, a Wendy's, and a slice of Boston cream pie, and you're going to be just fine. That's a great way to sell bull to Americans. I never saw that happen in my clinic. Every one of the people that I saw that followed that program were dying or dead. That program doesn't work. Food. According to the American Dietetic Association, over half of all Americans hospitalized have malnutrition. Over half. They said they're not thin, they're not underweight, most of them are overweight, but they have malnutrition, a lack of essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes in their body. No shortage of cholesterol, fat, preservatives, and chemicals. Just a lack of nutrition, malnourished. They said because of that, the average length of a malnourished person's hospital stay is doubled at a cost of $5,000 to $10,000 more per stay, and their rate of recovery is 2 to 4 times slower. Does this make sense? Remember our airplane? Your rate to healing, your rate to health and recovery is going to be slowed down because you're not getting the good stuff. Does that make sense? And this is from the American Dietetic Association. Another study I saw on television right after that said, another study recently conducted showed that 97 out of 100 hospitals in the United States checked served nutritionally substandard food. So why would anybody go to their doctor and ask their doctor's opinion about nutrition? First of all, we know that doctors have absolutely no training whatsoever in nutrition. They don't know anything about nutrition. I also always laughed in my clinic. Patients would come and say, well, I talked to my doctor about taking these herbs, and he said he didn't think it was a good idea. What was that based on? Any training in herbs? Any training in nutrition? None. So in my clinic, I developed 3 food programs. And I'd like to go over these food programs with you today so you have an understanding, because what I'm going to build all this week for all of you is you'll know what I did in my clinic. There's a lot of rumors, but you're going to hear it right here now, what I did when people that came in. Now again, the people that came in my clinic had a disease or an illness or something wrong. In the later years of my clinic, most of them were told they were going to die. This is how you turn it around, right here. The first step, cleaning out the bowels, and the second step, getting the food program right. So I had 3 food programs. All 3 did not allow any meat, any beef, any pork, any chicken, any fish, any birds, any clams, any oysters, any lobsters, any animal food at all, period. None. They were all what is called vegan. Now again, I didn't tell people they had to follow this program for the rest of their life. If I did, many of them may have walked out of my office. I said, just follow it for 3 months while I work with you, and then we'll see what happens. Most of them were so disgusted with animal food after 3 months, they didn't want to go back to it. And then when they did, they either threw up or got constipated or felt horrible. And so it sold itself, if you know what I mean. The 3 food programs I had wasn't that one of them wasn't that one I threw the book out there. 3 programs I had were called the health building, the raw food program, and juices or juice fasting. The health building food program, the most liberal, means that you could eat anything, any fruit, any vegetable, any nut, seed, grain, sprout, legume, anything you wanted, raw, sprouted, cooked, any way. Tofu lasagna, fine. Beans with tofu hot dogs, I don't care. Anything you find that doesn't have an animal in it is okay. All the junk food you want out of a health food store, whatever's there. Try to have a lot of fresh live food, but this is an open invitation just to become a vegan. I used to have to take my patients shopping, but nowadays we've made a list for you that are visiting here of some places around town that you could be amazed at what you can get, what you can find that's vegetarian. And I find this growing all over this country and all over the world. A lot of people say to me, but you don't know, the town I live in has nothing. Get me in that town and in 10 minutes I find something. Okay, you really have to get out there and push and look for it. And if you live in a small town and you have a health food store propping up, support them and go in and tell them what you like and what you want. You wouldn't believe what's available. There's burgers out there that taste more like a burger than a burger. You would not believe the type of food, and I would let my patients play with that food as long as they weren't seriously ill to get them off of the other things that was killing them. There's just about every type of replacement in a health food store, and now it's getting into the mainstream grocery stores. Most of them have a health aisle. You'll find tofu in there, fresh squeezed juices in mainstream grocery stores. You can find healthy things almost in a 7-Eleven, in a convenience store. You'll find healthy type foods being offered. So make sure you look for it and go in there. And when you go into a health food store, take your time. Play like it's more like a museum, not like a quick trip. And take your cart slowly and look at everything and see what it is. Not everything in there is vegan and not everything in there is healthy. So look for what is. Baked potatoes, yes. Eggplants and onions and portobello mushrooms grilled, yes. Brown rice and steamed veggies, yes. We had a delivery here last night during setup of Thai food with hot chili sauces and peanuts and potatoes and coconut lime curry. Yeah, it's all on the Health Building Food Program. People say, what do you eat, Dr. Schulze? I don't think about it much anymore. After 25 years of being on the Health Building Food Program, I travel all around the world. I never have any problems. I don't even have to strain about it. It's easy. Anywhere you go, you'll find it. And don't be afraid to ask. Oh, I've been invited to the trendy restaurants here by the most famous chefs. I was invited one out in Malibu, and everybody ordered, and I didn't see anything on the menu that was vegan. And I said, I'd like something that has no animals in it. And they said, just a minute. And the chef, who's very famous, came out from the kitchen, and he said, who was it that had this request? And I said, it was me. And he said, what would you like? He goes, I could make you like a whole wheat crust pizza with grilled veggies and sesame tahini on it. And I said, that sounds great. Okay? Any good chef in any good restaurant should not be insulted by you taking care of your health with your food. And if they are, don't give them your money. Walk out and picket the outside. Okay? This is 1997, not 1957. If these types of foods are killing us, we need to stop eating them. Any good restaurant and good chef won't mind you altering the menu. I've altered so many menus in this town. When I walk in, they repeat to me exactly my order. They know what I want. There's places in this town that have my name on the menu. Say, Dr. Schulze's special. Any good restaurant will work with you, but we happen to have more here in town, and it's concentrated, so we've allowed you to have your dinners out. So go out and have some fun, and check out some of these ones on the list. It's a great list. There's some great places. Most are within walking distance. Enjoy yourself. And we suggested many that are on the Health Building Food Program. They're all, the things we suggested are on the Health Building Food Program. Raw foods. Raw foods are more nutritious. The minute you cook food, you destroy nutrition, period. You cook food, you destroy vitamins. You cook food, you kill all the enzymes. You cook food, you destroy the nutrition. Now, it isn't nutritionally worthless, but your body has to work a lot harder to digest it and get the nutrition out of it. It almost can become a wash sometimes with how much your body has to work, especially with highly cooked food. I do a lot of work in England. I always kid them and say, I think the English cookbook says cook vegetables till all color and taste is gone, and then add a pound of salt. I had never seen clear celery in my life till I got to England. They've made an art out of destroying the nutritional value of food. So raw food is loaded with vitamins and minerals and enzymes and amino acids and what our body needs to survive and repair and rebuild itself. And that's why we need more rainbow lunches like the one we had today. All that live food is going through you right now and changing you into a different person. So raw food is a step up from health building, more nutritious. A highly nutritious program, mildly cleansing and detoxifying. But for the maximum, we get down to juices, just drinking juices. I learned the power of juice fasting with Pavel Arola. Wrote a wonderful book about a cure for arthritis using juice fasting. I have never seen anything else make such a dramatic change in my patients than getting the juicer out and starting to run some things through it. I had a woman that was in a severe car accident in the hospital, lost a tremendous amount of blood. They wanted to give her a transfusion. She was afraid, didn't want to. They said you could die. Her blood count was very low. I took the juicer right in. We juiced gallons of beet juice and greens juice and carrot juice, and in 24 hours, we had her blood count over that of a woman's. It was into the range of a man's blood count in 24 hours. Whenever you're thinking blood transfusion, think of juices. Juices are the natural healing blood transfusion. You get that juicer out. What kind of juicer? I don't care. Any juicer. You can get the little ones that sound bad, have a little motor, and they just about burn up when you put a carrot through. It'll work. Sure, there are lots of great, you can go all the way to the Norwalk juicer. Costs about $2,000. We'll get twice the calcium out of a carrot of a cheap juicer. You get what you pay for with juicers. I had a patient that bought the Norwalk juicer, and his wife complained about the $2,000, and he said, look, I figured if it keeps me out of the hospital one day in my life, I broke even. And if it keeps me out 2 days, I've doubled my money. See, that's the attitude that'll get you well. I like that attitude. Champion Juicer, an old favorite of mine. Pulp ejects. Always get a pulp ejector because then you can keep juicing. You get one you have to stop and clean out after every glass or two of juice. You'll get bored with it. You won't use it. Get a pulp ejector. I've taken champions over to Europe and put 30, 40 people on a juice fast. We had them going all day and all night to where you could weld on them. They were so hot and they never broke down. Champions, a juicer you'll buy for a couple $100 and you'll give it to your great-great-great-great-grandchildren. Just a big motor. Great juicer. Ron, our engineer, makes an herb press back here. You want a great juicer? Get an herb press. That press, our newest press, will press 24,000 pounds of pressure. There's no juicer that'll do that. You put anything in there, when you squeeze it out, all you have left is plywood. If you haven't, look at some of the samples we have back there of what the herbs look like after we pressed them out under 24,000 pounds of pressure. But get a juicer and get it going. It's the greatest thing you can do, and that's what juice fasting is all about. Which program to go on? Well, it depends what's wrong with you. Any patient that came to me, okay, I'll back up. Generally, start with the health building. Get on the health building for a week or two until you're feeling comfortable with it, until you're not feeling too panicked, until you've had some laughs. Some of my patients, they weren't ill, they just wanted to get a little healthier. They didn't even go on to the health building. They just did it 4 nights a week. They would eat a little meat and go out with their partner. But I'd say split the entree and order a big salad and a baked potato. Fill yourself up on the good stuff. And then eventually, on Wednesday night, have pasta night. Hey, there's no meat in that. You don't have to have animal food in that. Get your mushrooms in there and your onions. And, well, I usually put about 60, 70 cloves of garlic. I've had people move out of my neighborhood. Make it fun. Come on, this has got to be fun. Everything we do has to be fun or we'll quit. We want fun. I want fun. If I wasn't having fun right now, I'd leave. And I hope you do the same. We have to have fun. So a food program has to be fun. You have to make it fun. I used to have patients torture myself, and I'd say, don't torture yourself with this. Go to a hospital if you want to be tortured. This is about having fun. So health building, make it fun, and learn your spices and use your spices. You know, I have some wonderful students from India that I teach over in Europe, and many times they invite me to their house to make me dinner. It's a way that they thank me. And I find it very interesting that they spend about 2 hours getting the spices ready and about 10 minutes making dinner, because everything is spices. They know, they measure their wealth on spices. They know that the spices are going to help you cleanse and detoxify and nourish your body and make you digest the food. And we don't use spices anymore. So get your spices out and start picking your herbs and add them to your food and taste the flavors and use the garlic and the cayenne peppers and all the good stuff. Add your spices. All our ancestors knew about spices. Spices were traded and wars were fought for spices. So use your spices. So make it interesting. Okay, generally when people would come in, I'd say try the health building for a week or two or a month or 2 months until you feel you're having fun on it, until you're enjoying it. And then when you're ready, we'll go down to raw foods for a few days. See how it feels. Probably even go down to juice fasting for a few more, which is actually what I call my 5-day cleanse and detoxifying program that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Because it's raw foods for a few days, juice fasting for a few days, raw foods. And that's something I suggest that everybody does once a season. So for the average healthy person, you stay on the health building food program for about 3 months. Then you go down to raw for a couple days, juice fasting for a couple days, raw for a few days, and then back up to health building for another 3 months. So once every spring, summer, fall, and winter, or once every season, you do yourself some raw foods and juices in a cleanse. Now this doesn't mean that on health building you're not eating raw foods. You're eating a lot of raw foods. Probably half of the food that you're eating is raw. But you're also allowed the brown rice and the baked potato and the grilled eggplant and all the exotic things. But you're also eating raw, but this is only raw. And that's what I would do with most of my healthy patients who just wanted to stay healthy. If someone came to me in crisis, the flu, fever, sick, whatever, they'd go to at least raw. If someone came to me very ill, given a death sentence, no matter what they did, what they were used to, I don't care if they worked at a fast food restaurant, I don't care if they were a butcher and chewed into that cow raw. They went to juice fasting. Is that dangerous? I never saw a patient die from doing that. When a doctor says you're dead, we're not going to fool around anymore. There's no time to waste. And those patients went to juice fasting. We will cover on Thursday the Incurables program. And the Incurables program, and we have a couple here that have done it, whew, they can give some testimonies. It's 30 days of juice fasting. It can be. You have an option there. But it's nice to do a 30-day juice fast. I've done 2 30-day juice fasts. I did 1 60-day juice fast. Juice fasts are fun. It's amazing the amount of liquid you can put through your body and flush yourself out. I talked earlier about putting 12 cows in your mouth and chewing them up and trying to get them out. Now imagine the same thing with carrot juice or beet juice or apple juice, flushing your body, replacing the fluids, making a new you. So juice fasting is part of the Incurables. So when someone came to me very, very ill, that's where we started. It's a tough place to start, but you have no time to waste. My other suggestion is you never go from health building to juice fasting. You don't skip this part. I've done it. I did a 14-day juice fast and ended it on a whole wheat crust, tahini-covered, tempeh-covered pizza. Within an hour, I couldn't stand up, and I was in pain for about 2 days. I've broken all the rules. I do what I say, not what I do. I don't suggest that one. What did I do wrong? I didn't go to raw. You should have about 2 days here whenever you're flopping and flipping back and forth. If you want a juice fast, on the other hand, don't finish with that food program I was talking about that I threw on the floor. Don't finish a burger and then go, okay, in the morning I'm going to juice fast. Not a good idea. Go to raw foods for a couple days. Don't skip the raw foods. Use that as a buffer in between. Some people are in a hurry. Oh, I just want to fast for a couple days. It won't be real. Don't do it anyway. You probably won't succeed. Take your time. It took years for you to get to where you are now. Be patient. I noticed one thing in my clinic. Most of my patients wanted to spend 30, 40, 50 years doing their best to kill themselves and then do a 24-hour cure-all detox program. Fix it all in a weekend. In fact, you see a lot of those sold in stores. Fix it all in a weekend boxes. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and my patients, you know what would happen after they fixed it all in a weekend? They went right back for another 20 or 30 years of their rotten program. I am a big fan of what I call long, wide turns. So if any of you in here feel like I've pushed you a little hard with the food program, you don't have to do it tonight or tomorrow night. Just start moving in that direction. And of course, when I say you, I know that most of you are nature healing cosmonauts, okay? I know that you've all done a lot of work. So what I really mean is the people that you're going to be talking to. I'm trying to give you a real good reflection of how I worked with people in my clinic so you can work with people more effectively. Because there's nobody perfect except me. And everybody hits bumps. And so you want to keep a steady pressure up. The only thing that I found that's interesting is most people think, let's say we're using the floor here, most people think that if you move up in intensity that people's breaking point is about here. Starting at the floor and then up here is about breaking point. Other people think it's about here. I discovered their breaking point's about 1,000 miles up. Okay, I could push people a lot more than my colleagues did. We're pretty tough people, aren't we? We can sit around and smoke 3 packs of butts, bust a couple 6-packs, eat a lot of those cheesy puff things, never crap, have a bad attitude, and we do just fine, don't we? We're a pretty tough people. So you think you're going to kill them with a cup of peppermint tea? Or 3 cups, or 10 cups, or a little bottle of herbs? I mean, give me a break. I can't believe the chronic pussyfooting around done in this country by herbalists and natural healers. It's a nightmare. I can't believe it. And you know, people, so you'll get strong and you'll feel, I'm going to blast them hard like Dr. Schulze says. And then the first thing is these people will cry mama because they'll think you're killing them. And they'll come in and say, Dr. Schulze, this is what they always said, Dr. Schulze, I think that peppermint tea is making me sick. And I go, well, what else did you do? Well, we went to Domino's. We had the large with extra pepperoni, extra cheese, and that never bothered me before. And we had a couple pitchers of beer, but that never bothered me before. And when we got home, we got that quart of ice cream out of the freezer and dug into it. Didn't stop, but I don't have a problem with that. But then I drank that cup of peppermint tea and it damn near killed me. This is what I always heard in my clinic. You pick the best thing this person has done in their entire life and they think it's going to kill them, and you can't buy into that. Okay? You can't buy into that. So I learned people's breaking point was 1,000 miles up. I tried, but I never could kill one of my patients with herbs or natural healing. I tried to see how much I could stuff in them. I took every routine that I learned from Dr. Christopher and every routine I learned from Dr. Jensen and Pavel and that I read about from Dr. Stone and Benedict Lust and Henry Lindlar and John Harvey Kellogg and all of them, and I cranked up the volume as high as it could go. I used double the herbs, triple the herbs. Let's see if we can put so much cayenne in the tub it turns to cayenne mud and the person lights on fire and we have to call 911. And it never happened. Okay? So the point here is don't wimp out. I've never blinded anybody with so much cayenne in the eye wash, and I put in 100 times what Dr. Christopher used. Okay? I've never seen anybody blow into fire in a cold sheet treatment. I have seen a lot of weird things, but I've never killed anybody using herbs. So what are we so afraid of? I never see anybody go, well, I finished that six-pack. Bill, you want another one? Oh, I'm afraid of 7 beers. I'm afraid of having 7 beers. You know, that could be an overdose. Did any of you ever worry about overdose when you were partying? When you were eating garbage? Did you ever go, you know, I already had 1 whole bag of Cheese Whizzes here. I better not eat 3 more. It could be an overdose. You ever hear that? No, we never worried about that. We ate until we were stuffed. I remember Thanksgiving in my house. You ate, and you ate more. And then you sat down to take a break, and you went back and ate more. And you kept eating till you went into such a food-induced coma that you didn't have to talk to any of your relatives. That was Thanksgiving at my house. And when that level of mush went below your gut, you went back and got the colds out of the refrigerator, didn't you? You went back and got the other stuff. And you never worried about if you were going to cause some problems with your health by that program. So the point I'm trying to make here, the point I'm making is all these people had fear about, ooh, should I 8 capsules? 8 capsules of intestinal formula? Could that hurt me? And they just got done with their 40th cigarette of the day. Do you know what I'm saying? So I have very little patience for any of these wimpy stories and wimpy people. So I know I feel like a very intense person when I talk about this, but I have tried my best to break my patience, and it never happened. I never got to a point where they drank so much juice their eyeballs popped out and carrot juice started coming out. I never had anybody die from an overdose of broccoli in their arteries. Okay, do you get the point? So this is the only thing that made me different from my colleagues, as I pushed farther, turned up the volume, made them drink more, eat more, stay on it longer, take more herbs, and we got better results. That's the only secret here. It's not because I'm smarter. A woman at the last crusade said, well, I won't tell you what she said, but she said, yours must be so big, you need a wheelbarrow to wheel them around. I'll let you figure out what she was telling me. The point is, people are wimpy. And they get even wimpier with herbs and natural healing routines, and you have to be there to ensure them that they're just going to be fine. And there's no limit to the amount of stuff that they can use. And they won't die. In fact, the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to get better. We're going to talk a little bit more about nutrition and finish up today with some food ideas and food thoughts. I had many patients come to see me. Some had terminal diseases. Others just wanted to feel a little bit better. I tried to get all of them on a juicer. That's the real key. If they had a serious illness, after their first visit, they had to go home and buy a juicer and start juicing right away. If they wouldn't, I didn't want them as a patient. Dr. Jensen, when I studied with him, had carved into the door of his clinic, in his oak door, you're looking for a good doctor, I'm looking for good patients. Now that's the kind of responsibility that that man knew he had to instill in his people to get them well. So my patients that were seriously ill, they didn't get a juicer, I don't work with them, period, after the first visit. Where are you going? Suppress your elimination. Come back in here. So I told all my patients to get a juicer, but some of the ones that weren't seriously ill, you know, fear is a tremendous motivational tool. And when that doctor said I'd be dead in 4 years with my heart disease, I turned that fear into a motivational tool. I used that to make me do and think and drink things that I normally wouldn't have. So my terminal patients had no problem with the juicer. But a lot of my regular patients didn't want to use the juicer. I said, come on, you'll feel better. And they go, yeah, but I hurt my back dragging that 25-pound bag of carrots home. And I said, come on, you'll get rid of these little problems. And they said, oh, I put the apples in the juicer, it spurted, the apples were in my hair, all over the cupboards, and I got this little glass of juice. And I said, but come on, you'll have more vitality. And they said, the juicer costs $200. I mean, come on, that's a lot of money. I said, you'll feel better, you'll get rid of your problems. And you know what a lot of patients said? They felt okay with their problems. Juicing was a line that they wouldn't cross, turning that juicer on every day. Now, I don't understand that, but that's the way some patients were. So I thought, okay, I am going to mix up a blend of herbs that's going to give my patients something close to juice, a nutritional blast, a real nutritional blast. And I mixed up a product I called Superfood, and it was about that same color as the dirty carpet and ICF number 2 on it. It was kind of a blacky brown, and it tasted like bitter dirt. And most of my patients I gave it to said, I'd rather juice. But I worked on it. And over months and eventually years, I got better quality herbs in it and organic herbs in it. And it started tasting a lot better. And all of you, I think, had it for breakfast this morning, didn't you? Had a superfood drink. If there's a can in the back, I'd like someone to throw one up to me. Not really throw it up. I mean, throw it up to me. Have to be specific. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the superfood since you had it this morning and explain to you about herbs and plants that contain concentrated vitamins and minerals. Thank you very much. When I first started learning about nutrition, I went to the health food store and I bought vitamins and minerals. Took a lot of vitamins and minerals. Took them for years. I took vitamin C for years. Vitamin C, ascorbic acid for years. And then learned that vitamin C, ascorbic acid, you can't assimilate it. And that in order to assimilate vitamin C, you have to have the complex nutrients with it of hesperidin, rutin, and bioflavonoids. Okay, so I've wasted a lot of years swallowing ascorbic acid, so now I'll take ascorbic acid with hesperidin, rutin, and bioflavonoids. I started taking that, and a few years later, scientists said you can't assimilate ascorbic acid with hesperidin, rutin, and bioflavonoids unless calcium is present. And I was just about to start taking ascorbic acid with hesperidin, rutin, bioflavonoids, and calcium when it dawned on me, all that's in an orange. All of that is in an orange. It's very simple. It's been provided for me. And all the other things that we need to assimilate ascorbic acid. And I realized I was following a path of science, not one of nature. And nature has it all figured out. I saw a big difference when I started following nature. You know, I have a funny story. Dr. Christopher came to town, and I used to pick him up at the airport, and we'd go to various places, and he would speak. And we were invited to a nutritional convention in Anaheim. And we walked in, and there were vendors, over 350 vendors, representing vitamin and mineral companies, with all these booths of vitamins and minerals. And I thought, this is not exactly the kind of place we go to and hang out. Dr. Christopher was the keynote speaker, got up on stage, and they welcomed Dr. Christopher, thousands of people cheering and clapping, and he got up and he said, I've had an opportunity this afternoon to go around and walk around and look at all the wonderful products displayed here today. And the only problem that I see is that everything out there is dead. It was louder than that. And I thought, oh, I can't believe he just said that. And I'm like, Dr. Christopher, no, wrong speech, wrong place. I'm like, I can't believe he said that. And then he went into it, and within minutes he was off the stage. In fact, I've been barred from ever speaking for that same group just because I was there with him. But he was right, because you take those vitamins and minerals and you plant them into the ground and you get nothing. And you take an orange and you put it in and you get an orange tree. There's something else there called enzymes and life energy that science doesn't like to talk about at all. This incredible life force that's in there, that is a gift of God and nature that we don't even understand or know about. Wow, just chewing the seeds of some of these plants is so powerful. So Dr. Christopher knew that. And I learned that by using the juices and the foods instead of the vitamins and minerals, I felt better in days going to the juicer than I did with the vitamins and minerals. So I went to the vitamin and mineral manufacturers. I traveled around the United States and visited numerous of the top ones because I wanted to see what they were making vitamins and minerals out of, because my vitamin and mineral bottle said, well, no starch, no corn, no this, and it said in a base of alfalfa. But what were the vitamins and minerals made out of in that formula? It didn't say. So I went to my first manufacturer, and they were big drums. And this is what they were mixing for the vitamins and minerals. And all these drums were from the pharmaceutical industry or the chemical manufacturers. I thought someone would be grinding up beets and rice and carrots and making vitamins and minerals, but it's not. Vitamins and minerals are chemotherapy, chemical therapy, another form of chemical therapy. And I thought, this is incredible, but I didn't know what most of these drums were. And I said, what's this? And the person giving me the tour said, that's vitamin B12. And I said, well, what is that made from? And the man said, it's vitamin B12 cyanocobalamin. I thought, oh, that's what it is. And then it dawned on me, what's a cyanocobalamin? Is that like that weird fruit I've seen growing in Costa Rica? I mean, I don't know what a cyanocobalamin is. So I had to go back, and I said, you know, I don't know what a cyanocobalamin is. And he got kind of a puzzled look on his face, and he asked one of the guys, and one of the guys said, cyanocobalamin, it's myeloganite. Ah, that's what it is. It's myeloganite. And I walked away, and I thought, what the heck is a myeloganite? So I went back, and I said, what is myeloganite? And neither of them knew, and so they asked the man in the lab, and he said activated sewage sludge. And my first discovery was the vast majority of vitamin B12 on the market is made from poop. And I thought, well, now this is odd. I can think of about, oh, what, 1 billion reasons offhand why not to eat other people's poop. In fact, I'm in the business of getting poop out of people, not back in. And activated poop, thank you. We manufacture vitamin B12 in our intestines. So in order to manufacture it commercially, they buy sewage sludge from the sewage processing plants and manufacture B12. Pretty scary, isn't it? But it didn't say that on the label. It said cyanocobalamin. That sounds fine to me. I discovered that the niacin was made by boiling sulfur in the presence of asbestos. I saw all these horrors. This wasn't lemons and limes and avocados and spinach and collards and oranges. This was a scientific nightmare. Now, I had already known that the drug industry did this to us. And for those of you that aren't aware, go in the room and you'll see, and you saw already the little picture of a woman with a urine stain on her lip because of the Premarin made from horse pee. And many women in the United States are been given Premarin by their doctor, and they weren't told it was horse urine. And now we have postmenopausal women who have used that product for over a year, have a 5 to 15 times greater risk of cancer than the general public. We've given cancer to women all over the United States with the use of that drug. But I knew the pharmaceutical industries did lie by omission. I knew that acyclovir, a lot of my patients came in on Zovirax and acyclovir and different types of antiviral drugs, and I knew they were made from bat crap. But they didn't show on the label a picture of someone chasing a bat with a net trying to get its poop, did they? And on the Premarin, they don't show a horse there like this, do they? Okay, so I already knew the pharmaceutical industry lied to me through omission. They're not going to tell us all the horrible crap they're grinding up, okay, to make the pharmaceutical drugs. But I didn't think that was done in the vitamin mineral industry, and it is. It is. Same stuff, same people, same manufacturers, same garbage. I was horrified. And I found this the same at all the vitamin mineral houses that I visited. Minerals, dirt, ground up stones and rocks, animal bones, metal, seashells. This is what I saw for minerals. I had to laugh. A lot of the calcium supplementation was made from oyster shells. I remember as a kid watching the Three Stooges, and they would pull the oyster out and throw it away and sit there and crunch on the shell, and we would laugh, and we're all doing that now? There's this theory in mineralization that as long as it's powdered, you can assimilate it. Whose idea was that? In fact, 99% of most minerals are totally unusable when you buy a mineral pill and take it. They're taking big blocks of iron and just powdering it up. You might as well sit at home with a hacksaw and saw a nail in half a few times and take those filings and swallow them. That's iron. Your body's not going to use it. You can take rocks in your backyard and pound them up into a powder and swallow it. Same thing. Your body's not going to use it. For lunch tomorrow, instead of salad, why don't we go outside and scoop a couple spoons of dirt and just knock it back? Why don't we eat dirt? Because we cannot assimilate dirt. Dirt is food for plants. Plants are food for us. That's the food chain. We don't eat dirt. We can't get it in. We can swallow it and it'll come out, but it doesn't go anywhere. The new thought in nutrition for all of you is it's not how much you take, it's how much you assimilate. It's what you assimilate. You can take 1,000 milligrams of this and 4 grams of this and 1,000 IUs of this. It doesn't matter. Did any of it get into your bloodstream? Because that's the only place it's going to do any good. And you know what gets into your bloodstream? This knows how to get in your bloodstream. And your body recognizes it. Oh, that's good. Couldn't help myself. In fact, hang on a minute. Wow, that's good. Your body recognizes that. It doesn't recognize this other stuff. It won't get into your bloodstream. That means it won't get to the cells. That means it won't do you any good. That means you won't get well. But then I noticed that there's a lot of plants that grow. We know that oranges are high in vitamin C, used by the English on boats, prevented scurvy. There are foods and plants that grow all over this planet that are some of the highest sources of nutrition available to us. Dr. Christopher used to say alfalfa, just call it the vitamin mineral herb. Why did he say that? Because alfalfa has almost every vitamin and mineral known in it. It's more than an herb. We should think of it as our herbal vitamin mineral pill. So I started looking at what plants are the highest in nutrition. First, the algae. Scientists traveling across northeastern Africa, Sudanese desert, Chad, Ethiopia, noticed the natives harvesting the algae and dumping it and drying it and mixing it in their food. They thought this was a bit weird. Now, you've seen that algae. It grows on ponds and When I was a kid, my dad would say, okay, you can swim in the pond, but don't get any of that scum in your mouth, and now I pay a couple $100 a pound for it. They discovered that algae to be one of the most nutritional food sources on the planet. Animal food, generally between 16 and 22% protein. Beans and grains, around that same protein level. Algae ranges between 70 and 85% protein. A concentrated protein source. Does it have all the amino acids? Yes. Has all 8, now thought to be 9. Has every amino acid known. Wow, what a protein source. Also happens to be one of the highest natural sources of vitamin A, beta-carotene. Also happens to be one of the highest natural sources of vitamin B12, the one that many people say you can't get if you're a vegetarian. In fact, spirulina and many of the other algae contain almost every vitamin and mineral known, and all the trace elements. Incredible food. Single-celled plants, very primitive plants, just one cell. What does that mean to you? It means it hardly has to be digested. It means that your body can transfer that into your bloodstream in seconds without a long digestive process. It can get into your blood fast, and that's what you need. Now, there's another algae called chlorella, which is a wonderful algae, very high in nutrition. Certain groups say chlorella's better, some say spirulina's better, and while they were fighting it out, I put both of them in the superfood, because what was my focus in the clinic? Help people get well. I don't get into the nutritional arguments. These people aren't looking at people getting well, they're into fighting about nutrition. I also put in the grasses like wheatgrass and barley grass and alfalfa grass. More available nutrition than the grains themselves, very easy to digest and assimilate the nutrients out of those grasses. I also put in sea vegetables. When you want minerals, think of the ocean. But you can't drink the ocean water. It's like eating dirt. So what you get is anything that grows in the ocean. Seaweeds contain every mineral known on the planet. One of the highest sources of iron on the entire planet is dulse. One of the highest sources of calcium, dulse and kelp. I find dulse is one of the greatest seaweeds. I can also get it that's non-contaminated, where it's grown in areas where the water's beautifully clear. And it doesn't taste fishy like kelp. And since I try to get people into being vegetarians, many of them are turned off by something that tastes fishy, so I use dulse in here. I also put in beetroots. I've seen people's lives changed with beets. Now you're going to get raw beets every day in here, and they taste good, don't they? Yeah, raw beets. I ask for beets all the time, and people give me these cooked things that are out of a can or something. I mean, grating beets and carrots like you see us grate them really fine brings out the sweetness, and these are organic. Oh, they tasted so wonderful for lunch today. So we have beets in superfood, and spinach, organic spinach. We have a farmer growing a whole field now of organic spinach for us. I put in rose hips and lemon and orange peels because we eat. See, now you're getting organic. So take the dare to eat this part. You can eat the whole thing. You don't have to worry about someone's name being printed on here with poison ink. You don't have to worry about it being spray painted. You ever seen the spray paint job on citrus? They do it a lot here in California, and you see sometimes the one they missed, and it has a stripe down the side. It all spins, and they spray it orange and green and yellow, whatever. It's all spray painted. No spray paint on here, no wax. So go ahead. I'm having my dinner. Eat it all. No, it won't hurt you. That's one of the blessings of organics. You know that over half the antibiotics produced in America are used on food, sprayed on citrus and other foods so it doesn't get bacterial blemishes on it. So if you think you're not taking antibiotics and you're eating non-organic food, you're taking antibiotics. Scary, isn't it? And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. And we just have to do this one step at a time. But we'll give you a number you can call where most people in most areas can get someone to deliver organic food to your door. There's organizations all around the country now. And see, in that peel are organic acids. Ooh, my mouth is tingling now. Eat some of that grapefruit peel. It'll tingle like you've had some echinacea. I mean, there's compounds in that citrus peel that are stimulating my liver to produce more bile and flushing out my liver. There's rutin and asparaginine and bioflavonoids. All of you know that most of the nutrition is in the part that we don't eat, right? So this is one of the great benefits of organic is we can start eating everything. When you eat an organic orange, you don't have to peel it, just bite into it. Wow. Any good organic food like that, you can take the whole part, the seeds, everything. So I mix this all up into this formula that I call superfood. The dosage I put my patients on was 2 tablespoons, rounded tablespoons, in some type of morning drink. Now, what type of morning drink? Hey, anything you want. If you're going to have a fruit drink, about 8 ounces of fruit juice, 8 ounces of pure water, throw in some fresh seasonal fruit, and throw in a couple rounded tablespoons of superfood. Blend it up in a heartbeat. If any of you see me on the Sam Beiser videos, I make breakfast in 30 seconds. Now, some of you may have a Vitamix. A Vitamix is like a super blender, an industrial blender. We have a Vitamix at home, and you don't even have to juice and put juice in. You can just throw a half an orange, a chunk of pineapple, an apple, whatever, add water, and it'll turn it into pureed juice in a heartbeat with your superfood. But that's how I start my day every day and how I started my patients' days. And I'm not up here selling products. I'm just explaining you the herbal therapy in my clinic, and the best way for me to do that is to tell you the herbal formulas that I use. And so that's why I'm going through the herbs and these formulas and explaining them. This kind of goes back, one of our volunteers had taken some superfood and had her face heat up. And someone thought that it might be an allergic reaction. It was a niacin rush. But do you see, not our volunteer, but do you see how people are quick to jump, oh, it must be something bad. Now imagine if you drank a glass of Cabernet and your face heated up. Would you worry at all? No, you'd say, oh, well, that's wine. You know, that was good wine. But you see the panic that always comes in with natural. Doctors, these butchering, godless doctors, and the pharmaceutical companies have got us scared to death of nature and treating ourselves. It even said it in this book, remember? It said danger with treating yourself, self-medicating yourself. They've got us scared. They got us to the point where we'll never talk about a reaction to something bad we're doing, but the minute we take some herb and we feel a little different, uh-oh, could be having a bad reaction, could be hurting us. Do you see where they got us in this powerless stage? And my job this week is to get you back out into your backyard. If you don't know what the herb is, pick a little bit and put it in your mouth and you tell me. Don't be afraid of nature. Don't be afraid of nature. There's nothing out there that's going to bite you or hurt you. Every report I've ever read of people hurting themselves with herbs, they did it stupidly. They cut up mushrooms and put it in beef stew. Well, how could you taste nature? Picked berries and added 4 cups of sugar. How could you taste nature? You walk down a path, you pick a berry over here, it's a raspberry. I think I'll have 100 more. You pick a berry over here, nightshade, 1 or 2 is enough. Strong alkaloids in this plant. There are no poisonous killer plants out there. Nothing created by the devil to kill you. Every herb is a great healer. Some of them you just need a little teeny tiny bit. And others you can sit down and have lunch. Does that make sense? We have to learn to trust and believe again. Let me tell you a little story that goes along with that. I was asked to come back to a big holistic healing college back east. And they asked me to come and speak. And when I got there, the nurse and the doctor came up to me and they said, we're in a full-blown panic. We got 600 people here, and we think 550 of them have poison ivy all over their body. And it was that time of year, and I could see some jewelweed growing around, so I knew there was poison ivy somewhere. And I started examining some of the people, and one of them, the first one I saw, had some prickly heat rash. Second person I saw looked like it was a mosquito bite that they kept itching. I think out of the hundreds of people I looked at, I found about 2 people with poison ivy. It was called a natural panic. So I got to speak to the whole group, and I talked about the poison ivy because they were in a panic, and I had to calm everybody down. So I said, look, poison ivy is a blessing from God. Every plant out there is a blessing from God. I said, one of the ways that nature protects you when you go out into nature is it has plants that give you little plant irritations. And I said, what this does is it stimulates your immune system. This is the way nature gets you ready for summer. Spring cleansing stimulates your immunity. Within hours, everybody was out crawling around trying to get poison ivy. Now, is that story true? I don't know if poison ivy stimulates your immune system, but it sounded good to me. I know even if it isn't true, if you just believe it, you're going to stimulate your immune system, right? There's no benefit at all to negative thinking. Let's get that right clear right now, right? There's nothing that you're going to heal yourself with your negativity. I can turn the worst scenario into a party in seconds, because I've trained myself to think that way. I've trained myself to feel that and be that. Do I believe that? Absolutely. That's what I believe nature is doing. I don't believe there's any accidents out there. I get poison ivy, poison oak, depending on how much time I spend in the field, 5 or 6 times a year. I don't even notice it anymore. It's a way that nature takes care of us. Let me tell you a little story to go along with this story. A story to go along with the story of another story. It's just a story on judgment. A man, a very poor man, lived on a piece of land, and very poor. Harvested all their food, planted it, did it all by hand labor. And one day, a beautiful white horse just kind of walked right onto their farm. And here they were with a horse, and all the neighbors came over and said, this is a blessing. This is an absolute blessing. You have a horse, and nobody around here has a horse. So the man spent the rest of the summer making a plow to go behind the horse so they could grow more food. And just when he finished it, the horse ran away. And all the neighbors came over and said, you know, we thought it was a blessing when the horse arrived, but now we know it was a curse. It was a curse because you wasted all that time making the plow, and now the horse is gone. And the man said, well, we'll see. Sure enough, spring came around. That horse came back with about 10 other horses. And all the neighbors came over and said, you know, at first we thought it was a blessing, but then you spent all that time to build the plow, and the horse ran away. It was a curse. But now the horse came back with 10 more, so we know it's a blessing. And the man said, we'll see. Shortly after that, the man was trying to break some of the horses with his son. And his son was riding the horses and fell off and broke his leg severely. And all the neighbors came over and said, you know, when the horse first arrived, we knew it was a blessing. But then when it ran away and you spent all that time building the plow, we knew it was a curse. But then it came back with 10 more horses, and we knew it was a blessing. But now look, your son broke his leg. It's a curse. The man said, we'll see. Next thing, the country went to war. And all the young men had to go to war, and they were all killed, except his son, because his son couldn't go to war because he had a broken leg. And the neighbors came over and they said, well, you know, when the horse first arrived, we knew it was a blessing. But then you built the plow and it ran away and we thought it was a curse. But then it came back with 10 more horses and we thought, what a blessing. But then your son broke his leg and we knew it was a curse. But now the wars killed all the kids and now we know it's a blessing. And the man said, we'll see. The point of this story is we don't know. So it's all a blessing. Does that make sense? It's all a blessing. Look at everything that happens as a blessing. Oh, I have a tumor. Hallelujah. It's changing me on my path. Yes, yes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. My word in the clinic, people would say to me, is that all you can say is wonderful? Yes, but I threw up green bile. Wonderful. But a parasite came out in my ear. Wonderful. Okay? Everything that happens to you is wonderful. It's a blessing, and use it to help you change your life. I had women come to me and they said, I have osteoporosis. And I went, wonderful. And they said, how could you say that? How could you say that osteoporosis is wonderful? Well, listen to this for a minute. Your body has some very primal functions, very foundational functions. Keep the heart beating, keep the lungs breathing. Your body needs calcium to do all of this. And so when your thyroid and parathyroid regulate your blood calcium. And if you're drinking carrot juice all the time and you have too much calcium, it'll put that calcium into your bones. On the other hand, if you don't have enough calcium in your blood, your body will start dissolving your bones to bring calcium back in. Your bones are your calcium storage units. Your body knows that it cannot survive without your heart or lungs beating. So if you need calcium, it will dissolve your bones. In fact, your body knows that you can live with a broken down, fractured skeletal system, but you cannot live without a heart or a lungs. And remember, the body's primary goal is to survive and repair. So your body will dissolve your skeletal system down to virtually nothing to keep you breathing and your heart beating. Is that a disease? Or is that the incredible, beautiful, wondrous way the human body saves your butt and takes care of you? Think about it. Medicine is all based on curses and the devil and negativity and horrible, scary stories. And it's not that way. Your body every minute of every day of every year is trying to repair you and keep you surviving and save you. So don't ever look at what it's doing and judge it and say this is bad, that this osteoporosis is bad, this fever is bad, this cough I'm having is bad. It's the best your body can do with how you're helping it. It's the best your body can do with the lifestyle and environment you have set up. It's the best your body can do. If you don't like your osteoporosis, then drink some carrot juice and get the juicer out and lower your animal food intake. Everybody now knows that osteoporosis is not about calcium going in, it's about releasing the calcium from your body from a high animal food program. It's all about eating all that animal food. The more protein you eat, the more your body has to release calcium. It's very simple. You want good bone density, stop eating animals. Vegetarian women have double the bone density of meat-eating women, period. Got to get away from those animals. There's a billion reasons why. Plus, you know, I mean, even they have organic meats, and what that means is they allow the cow to meditate for 5 minutes before they shoot a bolt through its head or something. I don't know what that means. But not the way I would go. I have to have one more bite. It's very nice grapefruit. Everything is a blessing. All my patients that healed themselves of a serious illness were thrilled that they had that serious illness. I was at Woodstock, I told you, in 1969. I was on so many drugs, I passed out before Friday night started. Where would I be today if I didn't have deformed valves in my heart? Think about it. I mean, I still got the ponytail. It's my last remnant. Where would I be? Was this a curse? Was this, oh, why me? Was this horrible? Or is this my blessing? Yeah, think about this hand. Look at it. Look at this hand. People have come up and asked me to see it. Mwah. I love this hand. Look at that skin, and it all works. I have my strength, all this skin. Was that a horrible experience that I burnt my hand off, or was it my blessing? I have had lots of boots in my life to get me intensely, passionately on this path of natural healing. I have something to share with you about this, and these were all my blessings. You can be dragged through life complaining, or you can acknowledge that you needed this kick to get you into a new space, even if that space is only for an hour or 10 years or whatever. These are blessings. And all my patients that had a true healing saw the blessing that they got and loved it and appreciated it and were thankful for their blessing. Natural healing takes you out of that guilt and that misery and that pain and that anguish, that why me? Remember, that's all about the non-responsibility. Natural healing's about responsibility. So all of you that have had something in here and have moved through it, I know you're all thankful like I am for my heart, my hand, and my knee. And I welcome anything else that happens to me that keeps me directed on this path. These are my blessings. I don't deny it.